Hi everybody, welcome to Hackensack Homestead. This is our premiere video. I am in Hackensack, New Jersey, and I want to do a garden tour today. I just want to show you everything before we open it up, before we start touching things. We did some planting just to clean it up for the spring, and as we go into summer, I'll show you what it looks like before we do any more updates. Alright, I'm going to show you some of the flowers that we planted. And then we'll walk around to the side yard and the backyard. Here we have our privets that we just put in. So these three in the front came from the same group. And this privet and two others on the side of the house came from a different group. So these will open up soon, but the other first three have already opened. And then in front we planted some fire and ice hostas. So we're not a big fan of hostas, so we ripped out all the rest of them. But these are really nice. They have a pale yellow on the outside edges, and then an icy blue-green in the middle. Okay, so these are some of the annuals that we planted. We have marigolds, which we plant every year. Usually the orange ones or the gold-colored ones. Then we have some other annuals. I don't really know the name of all of them, but we like this one because it was bright red. It gives some action to the garden. And then we have our petunias. Let me show you guys this Japanese holly. We planted this when we first moved in October 2020. But look at all the new growth. This thing has grown maybe about a foot this year so far. All of this light green is new growth. All of the darker green was already existing, and it's already starting to put on its berries. So if you see these little round buds in there, those are all its little berries. All right, down here we have our little junipers. They were the smallest little thing, I would say probably about 8 inches across, and now they are at the point where they're stretching over the border. So we really like them. We want to keep them. And then we'll get some more because we like the way they spread. We like the time it takes for them to grow. So we'll continue with that. Over over here, we have a Calla Lily. So this one is the orange, this yellow variety of Calla Lily from Proven Winners. So Be My Sunshine type. And I really like this one because it has these spots and speckles on the leaf, which give it added interest even if you don't see the bright yellow bloom, which is gorgeous in itself. Okay, and over here we have a Broomstruck Hydrangea, new for this year in our garden. So we expect this to grow and fill in this area. So it has these beautiful purple flowers that will bloom all summer long. And no need to deadhead, it'll take care of itself. Over here we have a beautiful yellow and orange rose, and they're really bright, vibrant pink rose. So as the pink dies down, they become this soft white and pink color as the petals come off. And then the yellow one turns into a white rose when the petals are done. So these I just got. They will go into the ground or into pots, probably into pots until next year, and then I'll determine where I want them to go. And then for our front pot, we have a temporary plant. We'll take that out and put in our black cherry Calla Lily, which is gorgeous. And then petunias. We have our pink petunias that will go around the black cherry Calla Lily. Okay, in the front here, right in our entryway, this is our Gardenia Bush. Some people don't like gardenia. They say it smells like funeral home, but they do smell really good. They have beautiful white rose-like flowers on them. So this one just popped open a few days ago, and then we have a few other ones, a few other buds that are ready to open up very soon. Okay, and then around the front, we also placed some snapdragons. So these blooms are spent, they will open up new ones as soon as this one falls off. And then we have these other yellow flowers that resemble marigolds. So just to give a pop of color in the front. Over here, right in front of our living room window, we have a Indian red azalea, and then we have a white azalea on the left of that. Okay, in front, this is a hydrangea that is taking its sweet time to open back up. So this hydrangea blooms on old wood, so which means that you only trim off anything with the 3 Ds: dead, diseased, or deformed. Other than that, the blooms will come back every year, die down, come back every year. So these are our front planters. Here we have yellow hibiscus. It blooms yellow flowers all throughout the spring and summer. On the right side, we have the Proven Winners green potato vine. Beautiful, beautiful plant. It'll actually sprawl out of the planter and on into the mulch. And on the left side, we have some zinnias, some giant zinnias. They will end up all blooming just as beautiful as this one. So we have them coming out on the side. They just haven't bloomed yet. So I apologize for the noise in the background. It is Saturday and lots of yard work going on. So up here in the front we have a Chinese Snowball Viburnum. So I'll go ahead and place a picture on the screen. But these things grow pretty tall, maybe 12 to 15 feet. They grow vase shaped, and they have these beautiful, beautiful blooms that look like giant snowballs. They're really, really gorgeous. So we have that in a pot. We just bought that, and at some point we'll place it in the garden depending on where we think it'll look best. Over here we used to have a bed of tulips. They're all spent since we are getting closer to summer. And once these things are completely spent for the season, we will pull them out, readjust them for the next season, and then remulch. 2 rose bushes and a lilac bush, and these were here when we moved in. So they were looking very pitiful and sad and low. I really wanted to tear them out because I thought they were dying. But instead, I decided to spend the time to research the types of roses they were, the type of lilac bush, and rejuvenate them. So if you look at it, it just rained all last night and this morning. So everything's looking a little wide and wet. But let me tell you, this thing has grown so much in the past year and a half. I feel like just pruning it took a lot of weight off of it, and it's just happy to bloom. These gorgeous bright pink. How do you describe these? How would you describe these? I don't know. Beautiful, beautiful bright pink roses. Really, really vibrant. You can see them from down the street. But next year, because it's now taller from where I pruned it, it's already put on all of this new growth above my hand, just for this year alone. So then next year, we're expecting some nice big full blooms out of that. So this tree here is a Korean maple, not a Japanese maple. I think it's a Korean maple. I'll put the tree in the video. But this was here when we moved in. A guy that lives in the neighborhood currently, he planted this tree from a seedling, and it has grown phenomenally. It's a nice large tree, takes up the corner of our lot. It's very, very beautiful. It does need some trimming. We'll take care of that going into summer, to take out some dead branches and some of the low branches like this. We'll take care of that and bring the tree back up into the sun. So this side of our house is our bed that we're working on the most lately, which is why you see a lot of the weeds and things of that nature. So we just mulched, and some of the plants that we put in, I'll go ahead and give you a little tour. By the way, this is a kangaroo bag by Fiskars. If you don't have a kangaroo bag, you're missing out. This is the best bag to grab all of your weeds and to take care of everything that you need in your yard all in one bag. All right, so over here we have lilies. that will start to show their flowers soon. They're nice and tall lilies. This is their second year in the ground. The first year they didn't give any flowers, which is okay with us. But this year we can see that they're nice and tall, and they're gonna give us some beautiful flowers. All the weeds around it I'll be pulling out. And then so back here in the corner, we have our hibiscus, just recently planted in the ground. It got a lot of rain yesterday, but as you can see, it's got some nice beautiful blooms ready to open up. These blooms are pretty spent and they will fall off by themselves, but there are already blooms ready to take their place. All right, so we have another azalea bush here, and this bush was looking pretty sad after the winter. We planted this early winter. However, we thought that spring was going to come a lot faster than it did. We had a small cold snap, nothing freezing or anything. However, this kind of took a dive after that. But I can see now it's really perked up. It's really happy in its location, and it's got a lot of new leaves coming up, a lot of new growth. So this one will do really well. It'll fill in this whole entire area here with the hibiscus poking up behind it. And then here we have our Honeycrisp Apple. So I had 3 apple trees. One I bought last year and 2 this year. The one from last year did not make it through the winter, but this one is thriving. It had very little leaves. It is extremely healthy. I don't think it's going to end up flowering this year, but if it does, that'll be great. We'll get a few new little apples. But if not, you know, we're patient, and you know, we'll have some apples for next year. Over here we have our traditional azalea. So it is very similar to the other azalea over there. This will give us nice, beautiful white flowers. All of the center here is weed and winter damage. So some of the weeds grew right up through the azalea, and I managed to pull them out after the winter was done. However, all of this is probably dead. I'll end up cutting this out and let the azalea spring up with some new growth. And again, this will fill in the whole space here in this corner of the house. All right, so we're gonna walk over to the side of the house, and I'm gonna show you the other 2 trees that are here. This is the other apple tree. This is our Red Delicious apple tree. So this, again, with the Honeycrisp apple, it barely had any leaves on it when I planted it in early spring, and it has taken off. So it's growing extremely well. It's got some new buds already. Very, very, very healthy tree. And I got them from Lowe's, so they're great, great trees. And they have a year return policy. So if your trees aren't really doing well, after a year, pop them out, bring them back. As long as it's under a year, they'll give you your money back or replace the tree. So good to buy them in spring. If they don't survive the winter, you can bring them back and get a new tree or a replacement tree next spring. Down here is the newest addition. This is our Santa Rosa plum. This is our Santa Rosa plum. It was on clearance at Lowe's, and you can see why it had a rough time in the store. So because of the policy at Lowe's, you can bring the tree back up to a year later. This is a really good one to get. If it doesn't do well even this spring or this summer, the end of the spring or the summer, I will be able to bring it back and either get my money back, or if they still have any more, get a replacement tree. But so far it's doing well. Hubby threw this in the ground and watered it. It had some nice fertilized rain last night, so it should perk up a bit. So this is another part of our trouble spots. We'll end up working on this this season. So we have a lot of weeds. This is a gum tree, and it drops all of these little balls on the ground that contain seeds. So that's how the tree tries to continue its life. It drops seeds, and hopefully another tree will sprout up. However, the tree is massive. Not a lot of sun gets under here. So what ends up happening is there are tons of weeds that grow under here. And as pretty as some of them may look, such as this one with the purple bells on them, as gorgeous as some of these things may look, they'll continue to spread if we don't cut them down. So what we'll end up doing is from this side of the tree all the way around the edge of our property, I'm gonna end up mulching it. And what that will do is suppress the majority of the weeds, and then I can pull out anything that grows after that, any weeds that grow after that. All right, so now we're in our backyard. Welcome to the backyard. So, simple little things like this. This is one of our bushes. This gives bright yellow flowers in the spring, early spring. They fall off, and then it has green foliage after. So this will need a shape and a trim, and then it'll be a nice, beautiful shrub. Next to it, we have one of our pear trees. This is a Moon Glow pear tree. It's brand new this year as well. It's very healthy. It's got a lot of new growth coming in, growing at the tops and off the edges. It did not flower, which is okay because next year it'll give us some nice flowers. Moving along, this is the apple tree that did not fare very well over the winter. I'm gonna hang on to it because it's still green under the bark, which means it's alive. So I'm gonna hang on to it. I'm gonna see what happens. Maybe it'll grow a little bit, and if it does, I'll have 3 apple trees. But we'll see. This here is a weed, but they are so beautiful. I don't want to pull them. So I typically leave these. They're really, really pretty, even though it's a weed. This one is a Chinese peony. They are perennials, so they come back every year. It's loaded with ants because it's so sweet. You can even smell it. It smells amazing. So this peony is loaded with all of these blooms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, including the one that's open that I can see. So this Chinese peony will continue to come back every year. It does have a few branches at the bottom. So as it gets a little bigger, I'm gonna go ahead and cut them and try to propagate it. And I can have another peony. Okay. This is an Ayer's pear. Really, really took off once we planted it. This thing was probably around the same height as the Moon Glow pear tree. This thing really took off once we planted it. I don't know, maybe it's the difference in the variety, but this one is really, really happy in its space. So again, it didn't give any flowers, just like the other pear tree, and we're okay with that. As long as it can get its roots in the ground and be happy, that's all that really matters to us. All right, so in back of me, this is half of our mulch pile. I got this from Chip Drop. Landscapers that cut down trees and do mulching, they pay pretty much $20 or whatever the fee is to Chip Drop, and me as a customer, I can request that mulch instead of it going to a landfill. So it's better for the environment, better for the planet, and the best color of mulch is free. So they give you the option to pay that fee for the landscaper, and it is a good fee to pay because at least the landscaper's not going and dumping that in a landfill. So it's better to pay $20 for a huge pile of mulch than to go to Home Depot and Lowe's and big box stores and pay hundreds of dollars for mulch. So that's my mulch pile. All right, so I'm gonna bring you down into the garden bed. I'll show you some of the things that we're growing and things that we plan to grow. And then I'll also show you some of the other trees that we've got going on. So this is the beginning of my patch. All of this grass will eventually be mulched over, so it'll be some nice walkways. But in these pots right here, we have a Rainier cherry and a Bing cherry. They are dwarf varieties, so they will not grow very tall, but they're faring pretty well. A few of them had no leaves when we got them, and they are growing slowly, but we have some fertilizer in the soil that will start to break down. Some organic fertilizer will start breaking down, and then once those nutrients are available, the trees will take on some pretty good growth from there. All right, in my 2 beds here on the sides, we have tomatoes and peppers, and planted in between, we have some gorgeous, some awesome, doing really well onions. So the onions are there because they kind of keep pests away. The pests don't really like the smell of onions, So as these things start to grow, I'll actually interplant more onions there. So the trick to the garden bed is to put down a paper bag and then to put your dirt or mulch over that. The problem is that grass will sometimes break through the bag, like this tuft of grass here. So what I'll end up doing is I'll pull this grass out. I will dig all of the dirt and mulch back down and put a piece of cardboard over that, so it'll be a little harder for that grass to break through. I'll do that to all the parts of grass that broke through, and then eventually there'll be no more grass in here. And then I'll mulch on top of that, so that way during the summer my plants will have nice wet soil nice moist soil under the mulch itself. All right, so this is typically what the beds look like before they get started. As you can see, we don't dig up the grass, we don't do anything of that nature. What I'll end up doing is cutting this grass down as low as it can possibly go. I put a paper bag over it, so eventually the paper bag will biodegrade into the ground. And then I throw the topsoil on top of that, and then the gardening dirt on top of that. The reason I do the topsoil is because it's sterile, it's a filler, and then it will absorb nutrients that I add later when I amend the soil. And the plants start to grow. A good example is over here. If you look at this bed here in the front, I have collard greens in the back, and they're planted roughly in a square foot method. The same with the radishes here in the front and the carrots on the side of it. So the radishes are doing really well, even though they are only maybe a month old. They're doing excellent out here because the soil has been amended in a way where the nutrients are available and will break down eventually over time, reaching the bottom layer of what is just topsoil. So instead of buying fertilized soil like Miracle Grow or Vigoro, I can just use topsoil and I'll end up with the same type of amendments that you would find in a Miracle Grow soil. Alright, so I like to put some flowers in the backyard as well. Not only do they attract pollinators, but they just match really well with vegetables. So here I have some zinnias. These are just starting to open up. And zinnias are really great. They have multiple layers of petals that'll give you almost a globe appearance. And then we have here's another zinnia, really gorgeous orange one. This is English lavender. English lavender doesn't look as great as French lavender or Spanish lavender. However, it's hardy in this area, so I don't have to worry about whether my lavender is going to survive or not. I know that this English lavender will come back next year, and that will be a staple in this pot. All the rest of the annuals I will be replacing next year. Okay, this is one of my blueberry plants. So I bought this blueberry plant last year. It was a small little thing. It did give one set of blueberries last year. This year, because I placed it in a new pot, I gave it fertilizer, organic fertilizer, gave it plenty of water. It has put on some pretty hefty blooms. Berries all throughout it, all around it. I ended up putting this net on it to keep the birds away, because now that the berries are coming up, the birds will be after it. This whole entire branch here is brand new this year. So I expect that next year it will be loaded with berries as well. This blueberry plant over here, this is a high bush blueberry. And this is new this year. We just got this year. I planted it right away. And look at the amount of blueberries that are coming on it. So I'm gonna put a net over this one as well. If the squirrels haven't already decimated it, at least I'll get some blueberries out of that. All right, so this is some sage, really nice pot. I'm looking for a pot to put here to give an effect for the garden, just for sitting back here under the pergola and relaxing. We can enjoy this sage. This is a perennial, so this will end up going in the garden at some point, going in the ground. All right, so this is my peppermint plant. So any mint that you grow, peppermint, just regular mint, spearmint, anything, try to keep it in a pot. They do spread like wildfire, and they're so invasive. They'll go into your garden, strangle some other plants. They'll go into your neighbor's gardens. So I keep it in a pot, and you can come out here and cut it, and you can steep it, make some peppermint tea or something. I give it away. It's really good. You can cut all of this back, and next week it'll be just as tall. So keep your mint in pots, and they will do well for you. This is a fig tree I picked up for 15 bucks. It is growing, it's putting on new growth, so at some point I'm gonna have to either get it in a really big pot or get it in the ground. I probably won't get any figs this year. If I do get any figs, they'll be small, and it'll probably just be a handful. But I don't mind if I don't get any figs this year. I want the plant to be healthy and to be able to survive through the winter. All right, over in this corner I have my grapes. So eventually these grapes will come up and go over the pergola, the top of the pergola. And we placed little slats at the top of the pergola to help support the weight of the branches. But for now, it's down here, and then probably at the end of the season, I'll pin it up. So next season, it'll have a chance to grow over. But so far, we have the grapes growing in. And you can see all of these little I don't know what they're called, but you can see all these grape bunches. And you can see the grapes actually starting to form. So these are the little branch parts that are typically in a grape. And then you can see on a lot of them, all of the little buds at the end of it, that's the grape starting to form around the branch. So this will be loaded with grapes this year. This was my Niagara Grape, and it hasn't done anything, to tell you the truth. It hasn't done anything. So I'm not sure if it survived the winter. I will hang on to it through the summer in case it decides to wake up at some point. But that's what happens. You know, not everything survives, not everything will keep going. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. So this is a red raspberry bush. It is brand new. I just put it in this pot a few days ago. It did have one little flower somewhere. Here it is. So this is a group of flowers. This will end up being a little tussle of a little group of raspberries. But other than that, oh, here's another one. So other than that, the plant has put on some new growth here at the top as some of the older leaves are starting to die down. So I'll probably come through and just trim it a little bit to get it, to help it out. So it's not pushing energy to dying leaves. It can focus on its roots, on its new growth, and then next year it should give us a ton of raspberries. All right, so last but not least in the garden, this is an Alberta peach. So this one I've been calling Roberta Peach after my grandmother. She loved peaches. She really loved peaches. So I think this is a perfect tree for her to name after her and to grow for her. So it does have a little yellowing, some of these little smaller yellow leaves. That's from the amount of rain we've been getting. It's just a little bit too much for such a young tree. But it's putting on new growth anyway, so I know that the tree is still healthy. So this will grow pretty big here. It has all of this space to grow in and branch out, and it'll do really well. Under the tree, we have some decorative pieces. These are two rose, bare root rose bushes that I got from Junk Seed. Junk Seed is an amazing, like the privets that I have in the front and these roses all came together, and they're bare root, and you can see all of the new growth already. And these are, how old do you think these are? When did we put these in ground?
3 weeks?
Yeah, 2
weeks.
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks in the ground, and this one has already started to sprout all of this new growth all around it. So this will actually give us nice, beautiful green growth this summer. And if we're lucky, it'll give us a flower or two. This one over here, this one's called Rio Samba. This is the one it's like fantastic and amazing. It's got this amazing orange, like deep orange sangria colored roses with yellow in the center, orange and yellow in the center. This one is very green, but it has not leafed out yet, which I'm okay with. But that will give nice, beautiful color here under the peach tree when the peach tree becomes a nice, healthy, large size. All right, so that is our garden tour for May. We'll be heading into June soon, and then we'll be cleaning up around the garden, doing a few other things. So we will update you on the garden next month. We'll do another tour, and we'll see how things have progressed since then. So I hope you enjoyed everything, and thank you for stopping by. Please like and subscribe so you can know when we post another video, and keep following us. Thank you. There's a package here. Let's see what the package is. Guys, it is pouring outside. Look at it. I did the video just in time. What's this? My hose link is here. Oh my God. Bring it in, bring it in. And guys, my hose link is here. What's a hose link, you may ask? It is a retractable hose, 82 feet long, so that should cover all of my backyard. Oh my God, it's so gorgeous. Thank you.
You're welcome.